Okay. What's going on, everyone? We've got a very, very fun local stream tonight in breaker format. So, very cool to see. Let me just check to make sure that I am indeed live. It looks like, okay, I'm live. Yeah. Yep, we got a very, very cool locals tournament tonight in breaker format. I'm pretty sure this is the first modern. Oh, whoops. I always do this. There we go. Sorry about that. For looping. But yeah, I always use my phone to check the comments, and occasionally I forget to turn the volume down on my phone. So, sorry about that. But we are all good now. I always forget to do one thing on the stream. And tonight we've got a very, very fun locals tournament here. It looks like we've gotten some last minute inclusions that do bump up the bracket to 9 players, I believe. So let's just click on that and see who's playing. 5 players. Oh, okay. Oh no, that's tomorrow's tournament. We want this one. There we go. There's the locals, 9 players. I assume all 9 of these players are going to be playing in the tournament tomorrow as well. But yeah, let's get this tournament started. It is 6:01 now, so we are 1 minute afterwards. Looks like Souls. Oh, okay, we got DK0 joining as well. So I'll let DK0 join, and then I'll start the tournament. Should be a very, very fun one, though. Breaker is a very, very strange format. People are experimenting with it a lot, mainly testing out the FTK, the scientist FTKs in it. And it's just wild to see. I really enjoy degenerate FTK nonsense, so I've been a big fan of this format so far. But it should be fun. Yeah, we're going to do a last call for anyone who wants to play. Let me just check the bracket again. Rip. Okay. Okay, in that case, let's start the tourney. The locals, actually. I don't want people to think that the one tomorrow is... oh, wait, is Paolo signed up to... Oh, okay, that would be annoying if they were in there. Okay, yeah. I can manually drop, right? It's like a manual drop. No. Oh, remove. There it is. Okay, cool. We had our lovely mod team deal with that situation, so now we can dive in to the games. So let's start the tournament. Okay, now let's start. There we go. Start this tournament. Let's start the locals tournament, not the monthly tournament starting tomorrow. And I'll shuffle the seeds, just do it randomly. Because, people aren't really necessarily on the format library leaderboard yet. Still very, very new format. So, yeah, seeds have been shuffled. Pairings are made. And we got a very fun array of duels here for you tonight. Hopefully we'll be able to catch them on camera. We've already got one person hosting, Dump Truck, who is a frequent player in these locals, a locals legend as well, as they have won one of these in the past. So we've got a pretty good turnout for this, and it should be a lot of fun here. So looks like that game has started, so let's just dive into it. And if you're not familiar with breaker format, basically it's the format that takes place right after Magician's Force is released. It uses the November 2003 limited list in the TCG, and it has Magical Scientist to 3 copies. So people are mainly trying to make the Scientist FTK work, and it works quite well in a lot of cases. So I expect this locals actually to be a bit quicker than normal. A lot of the formats they feature on this channel lead to more sort of drawn out, grindier gameplay. This is not necessarily one of them, although there are games where that can definitely happen. So I'm expecting this one to go a bit quickly, even though we do have a fair number of players. Also, since we're at the start of the locals here, I just want to shout out Janjo from the Janjo Zone for hosting the stream for last week's locals. It was really nice of them to do, as I was unable to do it that week. And I think it was really awesome to see. I watched that stream and saw some really, really cool text after the fact. So very, very cool to see. Did not expect people to be on things like Rabid Horseman or those sorts of obscure fusion monsters in mecha format, but it was really cool that people were on those and that we got to actually see them come out. So definitely check out that stream if you haven't seen it already. We got a very interesting start. Oh, I need to join the voice chat here. I like to always join the sort of voice chat on the Discord just so people can hop in and say hello and tell me their thoughts on the games that they played. So we've got a very interesting start from Raindance summoning out Sinister Serpent, attacking in. Dump Truck does have the Harpies to clear the back row, but Raindance does have the IO to protect the back row there. So pretty powerful position for Raindance, but that Breaker the Magical Warrior will be able to stop the Imperial Order if they so wish. Now, there's a bit of a choice here. You might just want to pop the Unknown, and it looks like they are going to pop the Unknown. And, ooh, Poison the Old Man. So it seems like this is a bit of a burn deck. Now, I did cover burn in my latest video, and I'm not the biggest fan of the burn deck. I think that it does have a fair amount of difficulties in this format that are a bit hard to overcome. But very cool to see someone actually repping the deck. And hopefully they can sort of prove me wrong and prove that the deck is better than I think it is. But this is a pretty good position for Dump Truck. This is kind of hard for Raindance to deal with IO up. So they've kind of forced Raindance into a situation where they might just have to let the IO go. Dump Truck's fine with that, as now they can use spells. And either way, they're in a very powerful position. Now, of course, there are some ways that this can backfire on Dump Truck. If Raindance is indeed on like a burn-focused deck, and Raindance plays a lot of like Gravity Binds or Nightmare Wheels, then that can be really, really tough, especially now that Breaker has been used up, as Dump Truck doesn't really have a good way to deal with that sort of traps, continuous traps that can just slow the game down to a snail's pace if they don't have access to spells. But Breaker's going to hit into the set. It was just a Sinister Serpent here. And Dump Truck's going to pass to Raindance again. So very, very slow gameplay here. Kind of ironic since I spent the beginning of this stream sort of talking about how quick the gameplay can be. But there are some decks running around that are a bit more slow. And it seems like both players may be playing those sorts of decks, or potentially, they just bricked on the FTK, which can happen as well. So very cool to see this sort of grindier gameplay. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more faster-paced gameplay later on in this stream. But it looks like Raindance is going to set another and pass back to Dump Truck again. So it might just be the Sinister Serpent again and again. That's honestly not a bad position for Raindance to be in, but they are losing 700 life points each turn. Oh, a Jinzo comes down. Okay, that is extremely good against a burn deck if that's what this is. And now they can turn on their spells because IO has been shut off by the Jinzo. They are going to go for the Forceful Sentry here. So this will allow them to take a peek at Raindance's hand, which can be very, very powerful, and also just reveal what deck Raindance is on. The poison makes it seem like it's a burn deck, but it could just be a scientist deck teching poison, maybe for the mirror match. So they're going to fire the Forceful there, and Raindance will have to show the hand here. So hopefully that is happening there. But it looks like the game is stalling out. Hopefully my Wi-Fi is good. Okay, it looks like they are showing the hand, so I just didn't see it down below here. So a bit of a tough choice, it seems like, for Dump Truck, which is kind of interesting given that, both players haven't really been committing too much to the board. So you'd expect maybe, like, Raindance didn't have as powerful a hand, but it looks like they might actually have a threatening one. Ooh, okay, Amazon's Archer, Poison of the Old Man, Last Will, and Feather Duster, and a Change of Heart will get shuffled back there. As Change of Heart is very powerful, especially with Amazon's Archer in hand, which is basically like, it's sort of a better Cannon Soldier in terms of the burn damage it deals. Basically, it lets you tribute 2 monsters to deal 1,200 damage to your opponent. So per monster, that's actually better than Cannon Soldier is, because you're dealing 600 per monster, but it does have like a higher opportunity cost because you do need to pay 2 monsters as opposed to 1. So that can happen there. Looks like we've got Cole in the Discord chat. How you doing, Cole?
V-Sox, we've got some amazing competitors here today, and I'm just hoping for some clean games and for everyone to have fun.
Oh, well, with triple magical scientists running around the format, I'm not too hopeful about the clean game side of things, but I'm hoping that everyone will have fun either way.
Now tell me about this Poison of the Old Man here. What's going on with that?
So it seems very interesting because it seems like Raindance is on a bit of a burn strategy, which is kind of like a tough deck to play in the format, I think. Like, I tested out the deck myself, and maybe I just didn't have the right build, but it seems like very like in a bad spot this format. Because you either lose to the Scientist FTK or the opponent is able to outgrind you and just deal with your wave motions and things like that. So I'm curious to see how Rain Dance will do. I do think that there were a fair amount of comments on the burn video basically saying like the deck isn't actually as bad as you're making out to be. It's just you had the wrong build. And so, I'd love to be proven wrong about that because I think the more decks that are viable in a format, the more fun people can have in just finding the deck that fits them. So, I'd love for Rain Dance to be able to prove me wrong here. And Rain Dance has played in enough of these locals with enough jank strategies for me to know never to count them out because they can really work magic with some pretty abysmal archetypes.
Now, would you say the best card in Burn? If I had to take a stab, I would say Fiber Jar. Probably
Mm.
one of their most important cards.
Well, Fire Jar is kind of interesting because like it's kind of weird. Like when you get into a burn grind, like you do want to be damaging your opponent a bunch. Which does sort of benefit you with Fiber Jar because Fiber Jar basically resets the deck except for the life point totals. But the way
And
that
burn cards are typically -1s,
they
so
are, and so you get
resets
them
the
all back.
advantage.
But it's kind of weird though because the burn deck in this format has access to Wave Motion Cannon now, and Wave Motion Cannon is kind of a card that you want to sit on field for as long as possible and then deal a ton of damage at the end. So it's kind of weird. I mean, if you're playing Fiber Jar, you can just send your Wave Motion Cannons to the graveyard the turn you set Fiber Jar and deal the damage that way. But counterintuitively, I feel like Fiber Jar might not be the best in a burn deck this format. Scapegoat's
Go.
going to be pretty good.
Now, let's say you're running burn.
Mhm.
What you what's your ideal time to send Wave Motion Cannon? Do you like to be greedy with it?
Oh, I'm all about the greed with Wave Motion Cannon. I send it when I can actually win. Like, not necessarily through Wave Motion alone, but if I've got Wave Motion, plus some Secret Barrels in hand, plus some additional burn, I'm just going to send it when I'm like, okay, this will kill the opponent. It is a bit tricky.
It seems like a tough card to have with Harpies, Heavy Storm,
Yeah. And
triple
also,
MST, I believe.
IO has a really annoying ruling with it. Like when I first built Burn, I thought, oh, this deck's kind of sick because Wave Motion plays around IO. Because I was thinking of the interaction between like Skill Drain and Exiled Force. And for those of you who out there who might not know, basically, if you have Skill Drain up and you summon an Exiled Force, you can actually use Exiled Force's effect because its cost sends it from field to grave. So you can actually get around Skill Drain because you pay the cost and then it's on the field for Skill Drain to negate. So I figured that Imperial Order would be kind of similar. But it actually does not work that way at all. And Imperial Order can negate a Wave Motion Cannon. It can even be chained to a Wave Motion Cannon activation and negate it in the graveyard, which is wild to me and quite unfortunate for the burn deck as
So
Mhm.
if Wave Motion Cannon has it's been on field for 2 turns,
Mhm.
and then you flip IO, it stays on field, or what
It does
occurs?
stay on field. So if you just wait out the IO, then you're fine. But like
Does it keep counting?
it does keep counting, I believe, because it only counts the number of turns.
Mhm.
And it's not like done through like, oh, add a spell counter every standby phase, even if that's how most players play with it.
Wait,
So
wait, wait. Can he activate Last Will after this?
yeah, because Jinzo's on field. And Amazon's Archer went to
Oh,
grave.
I meant so I haven't been playing much. I know so Last Will has to be activated. It's
Oh,
like
oh.
before in some cases, or it's after.
So in this format, Last Will actually it's just unlimited form. So you can activate before, after, you can choose the
Mm.
timing that you summon out a monster with it. And that's something that actually changes in December 2003. But this
So
format
it's
takes
coming
place in
coming
November.
up.
Mhm.
Okay, so coming up, it's going to be weaker.
Exactly. Next format, next format will actually have the change Last Will, which will disappoint a lot of people. Because it's just so fun to play with the unlimited Last Will. It's just like you feel so powerful with it, and then after it, you're like, damn, I actually have to think about this. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just how the game goes, and people will adapt to it. Scientist FTK will get some more tools in the future for later. So even the last will sort of hampering won't necessarily be as
And
bad.
Rain Dance upset about the graceful into Pot of Greed into Change of Heart.
I would be too,
And
honestly, especially when there's also a Gemini Elf to follow that up with. So if they don't have Scapegoat, this will indeed be the end of the game. And it looks like that is indeed the end of the game. Still pretty decent showing for the deck, I think. I mean, setting up Spirit Reaper that way is pretty threatening. The issue is that like there's so many ways to out Reaper in this format. So I don't know. I'm still not really convinced on the burn deck, but anything is possible in the future. I'm gonna try and dive in to another game while they're siding, because I feel like some of these other games are probably going a bit quicker. So, because Science
I'm trying.
FTK.
I'm trying to remember. When I was watching your video about the new format, and I saw a card, and I was like, man, Spirit Reaper is a lot weaker this format, and I don't recall what card I saw that made me think that.
Hmm. Okay, if I had to think, Tribe infecting virus is probably
Yes,
one.
it's probably Tribe. That was it.
Yeah, Tribe Infecting Virus is super good this format. I feel like a lot of Scientist FTK decks might not play it because they're just sort of going all in on the FTK. But if you're playing a Scientist deck, oh, wow.
Whoa!
Okay,
Whoa!
we jump into another burn deck. Okay. Seems like we got a fair amount of burn this tourney. That's pretty cool to see. Um, yeah, MST coming down, hitting one of them. Just you want to stop the damage as soon as possible, I guess. Although you could potentially wait for that, but I don't really see the reason why you'd wait on it. So I think that's probably a good
I
move
just
on
think you
Riot
should
Riot's
wait.
part.
I always feel you should wait to get their hopes up.
Yeah, but there's always the risk of like, you're like, okay, I've got a couple turns, and then they just suddenly send their wave motion to the graveyard, and you're like, oh no, what are they planning? And then they just go for a huge burn combo. So that's always a risk, but ooh, graceful as well. Io
Ooh,
is on field, so that's nice. I feel like
MST.
you maybe could have honestly saved Io for like you'd save the MST and just keep Io on field, um, because you can chain Io to the wave motion being sent. So, um, could have been something that Riot Dragon did, but
Wanted to stop the graceful.
yeah, and I think that was the right choice. So yeah, probably good to do it that way. They are adding Gillosaurus to hand, so this could be a sign that that's what they needed for the FTK. Um, yeah, and it looks like Zombie Doodle will not have any interruption if Rago Drago does have the FTK in hand. But it looks like they're keeping Io on field, so it seems like they probably don't right now. There is a Scientist Engrave, though, so that can potentially help them, if they've got like Reborn or Premat or something like that, that can get that out there. But yeah, you can't really. Yeah, IO is optional in this at this time, Zombie Doodle. Yeah, this is the pre-errata version. So it's insanely strong because you can just choose to shut it off whenever. Which is super good because it lets you do your spell plays sort of whenever you choose to, and also it prevents you from just dying to the Imperial Order burn.
Now there are two cards. There are two cards I really am hoping to see this locals, and I want you to tell. I'm worried I'm not going to see them, so I want you
Mm,
to tell me the odds that we see these cards. I think one's more likely than the other. Okay,
okay.
one is a new trap card I'm hoping to see.
Ooh.
Can you get? And it's ironic that well, I mean irony is not the best word, but it is a it's a trap card that trap decks will not be running.
Okay. Royal Decree, I'm assuming.
Royal Decree. I'm excited to see that. And what deck do you think would be running that? What are the odds you think we see that tonight?
I think we could. Like, I think that Royal Decree is kind of an interesting tech for like scientist decks potentially, because I mean, it's kind of awkward because I mean, you're kind of if you're going first, you kind of want to go full FTK, but if you're going second, you don't necessarily want to side in Decree because
Mm.
Decree is better going first. Um, but it is something you can do just to shut off your opponent's interaction with you when you do go for the FTK. So it could be interesting to see there. I think also just like general good stuff decks could go for the Royal Decree, because just like shutting down your opponent's traps can just be
Mhm.
very good. Like especially if they're on a more trap focused deck. You just shut them off of that.
Ooh,
Oh, Swarm of
Pac-Man.
Scarabs is out. It is indeed out. Yeah, that's Pharaonic Guardian. Very cool to see. We've got a bit of a Pac-Man deck going here. That is really awesome. Uh, Now they will indeed be able to attack in and then set it. No, actually they won't be able to. So the rulings on changing the position of this are weird. I think they will indeed be able to set this down with
They
the effect.
they can use the effect, yeah,
Yeah,
but they can't use the effect and then manually change it.
exactly. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. So they will indeed use the effect here, set it down, and that will indeed be fine on Rago Drago's end. And this is kind of an intimidating board for them to deal with here.
Yeah, so do we think that Doodle is on does Messenger of Peace exist right now?
Messenger of Peace does exist, yeah. So that is a potential thing that they can do with a Pac-Man deck. The only thing is that it's kind of awkward into a lot of things. Like there are a lot of things that do get around Messenger of Peace. Like,
Gonzalug, Mystic
yep, Mystic
Tomato.
Tomato, Sangam Witch. Um,
Although Sangan wouldn't pop the Scarab if I saw it. Is it 1,000 defense or is it 1,000
it's a
attack?
1,000 defense, yeah. So, in that way it's good. So it'd have to be like Tomato, Witch, Sangan. We did see that Rayo Drago has Gillosaurus in hand, so that would also do it. And yeah, you indeed do not pay for Imperial Lord while Jinzo's up. Kind of weird that it works that way, but that's how it works. So, this is kind
And
of a
there's
tough spot for Rayo
one
Drago to be in. With only 4,400, they can't pull off the FTK here.
Oh, you're right. That's something I didn't because I've never played a scientist, so that didn't even occur to me that you have to really watch your life points.
Also, actually, Wave Motion Cannon is now back online. So, uh,
Yeah, I don't remember if it needs 2 counters on it.
I feel like it should have a fair bit because, like, uh, oh, damn, we don't have access to the log here, but it might actually be at like 3 or 4 counters. In which case, Rad Drago is in a lot of trouble here. Kind of interesting. I wonder if they should have just used the Scientist last turn. Because what they could have done with Scientist, they could have summoned out Scientist, paid
Strict.
1,000 for Balter, attack Balter into the set, and then in main phase
Mm,
2, Scientist out like 1,000 restrict, sucked up the
mhm.
Jinzo, and then passed back to their opponent. It would have dropped them down a bit, but I think it might have just been worth it. Because you clear the opponent's board. You've got Scientists on field, they need to commit to something else. And you've also got IO up too. And you can shut off your own IO when you want to.
Yeah, as a kid, when I was first getting into Yu-Gi-Oh, and I didn't even know there was such thing as a ban list. I was reading through the banned cards. I got to Magical Scientist, and I was like, "Well, this card's useless. You can't.
Mm.
The monsters can't attack directly, and they go back at the end of the turn. Like what? And even outside of the FTK, and then I found out about the FTK, and I thought the only point of Scientist was an FTK. But then I've come to find out there's a lot of utility you can do in just a good stuff deck, sucking things up with a restrict,
Mm.
summoning the fusions that negate certain cards. A lot of a lot of overpowered but not like BS ways to use Scientist.
Yeah. And it's one of the coolest cards in the format for that reason, in my opinion. It's just so much versatility to it. And this might just be the end of the game right here. But
The end of the match, if I understand how the
yeah, how it's recorded on the
yeah.
thing here. But yeah, it looks like Pac-Man will be able to take a victory. Maybe this deck is better than I gave it credit for. Because I kind of
It's,
assumed that Pac-Man was kind of in a bad spot, but I mean this was a very, very good showing for
Drago says I'm not taking the damage until Duo goes to the graveyard.
yeah. Uh yeah. No, that's the end of the game for Raga Draga there. And wow. What a surprising play. And this is why I'm happy that we hold these locals because like in my video for Burn, I was just like, I'm not really sure this strategy seems kind of bad. But people are making it work. So very cool to see. Uh
Now Zombie might not even be running burn cards outside of Wave Motion Cannon.
yeah. Um which is kind of interesting. Like you just use wave motion cannon as like a spell and trap removal sync, right?
Yeah.
And then you potentially have your stall cards that survive. Um, different ways that you can go about it. I'm very curious about the layout of Zombie Doodle's list. Um, but it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they might not want to share it after the tournament because, we've got the big monthly tournament tomorrow, which anyone out there watching who wants to play a breaker format for themselves should definitely sign up for that. And it should be a lot of fun.
I think we're seeing the flaw of Scapegoat.
That's true. Yeah, the Colgate zones are locked here, which is kind of unfortunate for them as they can't really do anything about this. Hey, Janjo, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for hosting last week's stream. I shouted you out at the beginning of this one. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I watched it back after the fact, and it was really cool. So definitely check out that stream if you want to see some awesome Yu-Gi-Oh gameplay, especially with early fusion monsters. Like I never expected to see things like Rabid Horseman actually see play in my lifetime, but watch that stream and you may not be disappointed if that's something you've been looking forward to. But
I never thought I'd hear that card's name.
yeah, no, it was very very hyped to see that happen. So, big shout out to Janjo and definitely check out his stuff if you're here. But yeah, Pot agreed here. Very very good for Ratos, and they're in just a pretty good position overall here. Like they don't really need to push too much here. Ooh, a very interesting card in Colgate's graveyard. Amazon's Swordswoman.
Ah, that's weird.
Yeah, but I mean they have been sort of playing
Is this Rat Toolbox?
so they have been playing a deck that they call like Amazoness Burn in the Discord a bit. And so I'm not sure if that's just like using Amazon Swordswoman or going all in on the Amazonesses, but it's cool to see either way. Yeah, glad to be back, Janjo. Yeah, and hopefully won't have to take any more breaks like that for a while. So we're going
Now
full steam ahead.
I have an impossible question for you.
Mhm.
Go back to Amazon Sword Woman. Explain to me what's happening with her torso.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. That's a very good question. What is it's like
It's turned way too much. Like your rib cage can't do that.
it's like something's like stretching out like the top of her body, like a Jack in the Box almost. Just lunging out from her pelvis.
And while we're discussing the lag, just there's a bunch of lag, and all of a sudden we see Tribe, which you were talking about earlier, takes out. I've never seen Tribe take out a Scapegoat.
Yeah, I've seen it happen a couple times in Goat, but it can be very, very powerful. And one of the other reasons why Tribe is just such a versatile card. I mean, we saw Magic Cylinder here coming down on the Tribe, so that's 1,600 damage there. Oof. I still think Aratos is in a pretty good spot here. Although, it's 1-1 now, so it could go either way. But yeah, Tribe can deal with Scapegoat, it can deal with just problematic monsters your opponent has. Also, Gravekeeper's Spy was seeing some play in Yada format, and it can deal with that as well. So
I'm curious, how does he take advantage of Amazon Swordswoman? Because I'm thinking like best case scenario, attacks into like a Jinzo and you burn for 900.
Yeah, I mean, it isn't honestly that bad. It's just a monster that you just attack in with. There are a lot of low attack monsters in this format. So, like, Amazon Swordswoman can just stick around for a bit, hitting in 1,500 if you're able to get it to connect. And
I guess
then if your opponent clears it.
Lava Golem, I guess, would be the best way to play into it.
Yeah, that'd be really cool to see. I'm hoping we do see that if that does come up. Oh, Snatch on the Amazon Archer.
Burn him for game?
Yeah, this is but the MSC. Okay.
And it was gonna be game anyway from battle damage.
Yeah. There is actually a debate here. Like if you're a Ratos, you just pitch your last card to get rid of the Amazon Archer and deal 2,700 damage just to drop them down that low.
I think if it's any good card, I think you keep it. But
yeah, no, I'd agree. The fact that
there's certainly some cards you could ditch.
Yeah. But you've got Witch on field, so that will search you out something that could potentially win you the game. So a couple different things that could be. I feel like that I mean, there are a couple things now we know that that isn't. If it was Serpent, you
Yeah, it's
definitely
not
pitch Serpent.
it's not Serpent, it's not
No.
Change of Heart. That would have been game.
Yeah. Ooh,
Ooh.
snap. Oh,
Ooh.
but IO, yep. That should probably do it.
It
I
might
mean,
be could be Jinzo in hand.
yeah, if it's Jinzo and oh, that'd actually be really good. Um, it'd be kind of awkward in this scenario with IO and
Yeah.
Snatch up, but yeah, that'd be pretty good. Oh, Exiled coming down. I feel like you just have to pop the tribe, right?
But you definitely can't pop the witch.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't pop the witch. Um, so if you do this, you got to do for tribe, and yeah, it's kind of awkward because like you kind of want to put your opponent in a position where it's like, do you keep IO up and just um, have to just keep negating the snatch, or do you
Hello.
hello, or
Sorry
do you
for
pop the
interrupting.
tribe now?
I
But
won, by the way.
oh, nice. Yeah, so you're waiting on the outcome of this game, and it's a very, very close game. So, very, very cool to see. Oh, Janjo mentioned that some people have messed around with Amazon's Burn Necromancy for Kids Yu-Gi-Oh server a few weeks ago. Wouldn't be surprised if the idea came from that. Yeah, that's definitely one of the cool things about going through these formats is that you can really take inspiration from a variety of different time periods of Yu-Gi-Oh's history. Oh yeah, that's the
It
end of the
was
game. Yeah.
Wanku.
Wangu is
Wanku was the mystery card.
honestly Wangu is a really good card in this format. It just shuts down the scientist deck very much. Like there's not really much they can do against Wangu because all the monsters they want to summon are less than 1400 or less attack. So it just destroys them really if you manage to just stick it on field. And it's just good in general, I think. Just a good beater
Yeah.
and yeah.
It was a bit solid in Yada format, though very situational. It dealt particularly with recruiter decks.
Yeah, and
But in this format,
there was also experimentation with Gravekeeper Spy, and so it can definitely pop the spies that come out as well. Um,
It's
uh,
this might be a leap, but it's honestly to me it's always felt like early Yu-Gi-Oh's Thunder King Ryo. Like it's just like
mm,
a generic monster you can summon and it kind of has a bit of a stun effect.
yeah, no, I think that that's a very good comparison there. Um, and just like Ryo, it can shut down certain decks completely. Like certain decks just can't deal with it, and it's like, well, I guess you win. But the difference here is that like most decks are playing things like Raigeki, Dark Hole, etc. So if they do open one of those power spells, then there are ways around it. But you have to
And this
have
this is
well,
those.
just a real Dark Bolter the Terrible on the field. It was not scientist out. It was meta out.
Yeah, which honestly is pretty good for DK here. Balter is just such a powerful card this format. Um,
well, wasn't expecting to leave this quickly. I'll see you later.
yeah, good
Peace
luck in your
out.
game. Um,
And this is once again Zombie. We is on Pac-Man. We're aware of that.
Yeah, and it looks like DK is on a Scientist FTK deck. And this shows that, the deck doesn't necessarily have to win through Scientist FTK. It can just, sit on a Bolter and just deal with that. They do pop
Okay,
a
so just a
Gravity
gravity
Bind.
bind.
So
That would have
this,
been very helpful.
yeah. Oh,
I'm gonna. Ooh.
this actually might be the end of the game potentially if DK has the Scientist in hand.
Or even if that's just a scarab and zombie is I mean Pac-Man cannot really grind back. They need their floodgate cards.
Yeah. Looks like they're going to special summon Gilsource, which will allow Zombie Doodle to summon out their tomato. So that's a bit awkward for. Oh, but the
Oh,
last will
so
do it.
that's GG.
Yep, that's GG. Um, yeah, and that's how the scientist deck can win, right? Like, it wasn't an FTK here technically; it was an OTK, I guess. But this is the combo, right? If you manage to get Last Will plus a turtle or a scientist on field and a card in graveyard, that's just the end of the game. And
Let me oh, I'm sorry. You finish first.
I don't know, you go.
I was gonna say, let me share with you a bit of niche Yu-Gi-Oh trivia because it occurred during the small like 4-year window when I was active in the competitive scene. Are you aware of the um Elemental Hero Electrum
Yes,
FTK with
I
chain
love that.
material.
Yeah,
Yeah.
chain material. Yeah.
So as far as I'm aware, it is topped exactly once. But do you know what was unique about the deck?
Um, what was unique about it? Was it
Yeah,
just
it
that it
was
was like an
unique that
FTK or?
well, typically when people ran Electrum FTK, they went all in on the FTK. So the entire
Hmm.
deck was based around getting the first turn kill. This guy, he more or less ran like kind of a normal hero beat deck, but he
Mm.
found out like, well, I can add in I think he added in like 10 to 12 cards, and the deck had the capability to do the FTK. But if it failed, he could run a slightly worse but still competent hero beat deck. So I think we might see as this format progresses, we might see, you know, just good stuff decks with magical scientist and just a turtle that's in there, but you're not running like the Gillosauruses necessarily or the other cards. You're just playing a good stuff deck with the capability to FTK.
Yeah, and I think that that makes a lot of sense, and I actually think it reminds me a lot of Frog FTK format, um, where one of the most scary things about that deck is that even if they don't pull off like the Mass Driver FTK like turn one, they can just set up a board of like double dupe and like flip flop and just prevent you from actually being able to do anything, and just win the game through that. So I definitely agree. I think the scientist decks in this format have the great potential of just being regular good decks if they don't FTK, and just having the access to a very, very powerful combo that can deal a lot of damage at once if they, if they actually
A
manage to
lot,
set that up.
lot of wave motions.
Okay, yeah, we're seeing a lot of burn in so far in this locals. Very interesting to see. And it's honestly not a bad sort of counter pick if you are worried about Scientist FTK because
Now,
mm,
just that MST is so valuable right now. I know you're supposed to hit the Mirage of Nightmare, but
it
man,
really,
you really want it for the chain energy.
I mean, if you got Breaker in hand, I guess that can do it, right? Uh, so you can use Breaker, pop like the Chain Energy. You could also pop the Unknown back row if you want. Um, so it looks like they are indeed going to pop the Chain Energy, which I think is the correct choice here. Um,
I wonder though, could wave motion have been? I think there's an argument for wave motion cannon.
there's definitely an argument, but with History of YGO1 at 4,000 life points, you might just think, well, I can kill them before the wave motion's a problem. Oh, especially with a Raigeki. Wow.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow, good Raigeki.
yeah, Hidden Spirit Reaper. It actually might have been interesting to do Breaker pop the set, right? And then just Raigeki their monster.
Because now chain energy, he could only set one card.
Exactly.
Oh,
Oh,
well, I'm just
well,
gonna call game there.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty much over either way. I mean, Serpent was in hand, so it's not the worst thing for History of YGO1. But
Yeah, he's gonna win the game off the back of the Sinister Serpent.
yeah, I mean, it's really not looking good for them here. Um, they could also, draw a power spell. That is an option.
Ooh,
Okay, Reborn ain't bad. It gets Reaper on field, and it's kind of annoying for Aretos to deal with, but it's really not looking good.
but if he can't out that Reaper for 5 more turns,
Yeah, then the wave motion will indeed actually kill them. Oh, but Exile
uh-oh.
will do it. Like, yeah, that'll do it. Uh,
Mirror Force.
Ceasefire. Okay, this will deal 2,000, but it won't help. That's gonna be the end of the game there. So yeah, very very quick game one it looked like, but very interesting one. Kind of cool to see the burn decks, sort of doing their thing and trying to compete against the scientist decks. So I'm curious to see if this will be something that we see, even further on in these locals and also the monthly tournament starting tomorrow. Which, if you're watching the
We'll
stream,
step away for
and
30 seconds.
oh yeah, go for it. But if you're watching the stream and you're interested in this gameplay, interested in this format, head on over to the YGO from Zero Discord server, linked in the description, and join the monthly tournament starting tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time. Should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to see what decks actually do well in this format in a major tournament play, and yeah, it'll be fun to see. So definitely sign up if you're interested. But yeah, I mean, I'm really enjoying Breaker format so far from my coverage of it. After this stream concludes, I'm actually gonna be posting a video that y'all are not gonna want to miss because it's actually Dark Paladin Turbo, and I have some really awesome games with it. So such a hype deck, and I really hope people experiment with that as well in the tournament tomorrow, and hopefully the locals as well. Though I haven't seen a Dark Paladin Turbo player yet in this locals. Opening up with a just secret barrel fired right away. That's kind of interesting. I really don't think you need to do that because, like,
Yeah, especially if they right now you can do it after
yeah,
pot.
exactly. And like also, if they activate something or summon something, you can
Yeah,
fire secret barrel then,
yeah.
right?
You want to see if they drop a heavy or something.
Yeah, like there's not really a reason to just fire it right away. It doesn't really make sense. But like, I mean, I
Now,
don't know. Burn decks are hard to play. I think burn
now
is
what exactly? I'm sorry.
yeah, go for it.
What is happening in Secret Barrel's image? I cannot make out what exactly that is.
It's a bunch of barrels that are secret. They're rising up from the sand. Or they're flipping
And there
down.
seems to be some kind of sonar wave from the bottom right corner, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening there.
Okay. History of Wydra 1 says if he's on scientist, then it cuts off the FTK. I mean, it doesn't matter. You want to commit. You want to see them commit to cards on
Yeah, you want them
field.
to summon scientists first. Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't need to wait for that, right? Like there's no reason to prematurely fire in like the draw or standby because they don't have anything that can actually like it's not going to change the math on that, right? Like I don't know, that's
But
just
it's not a huge misplay though.
it's not a huge misplay by any means, but it's just kind of like and as I said, like burn is very very tricky to play and very very tricky to pilot. Like I know because I definitely did not pilot the deck perfectly in the video that I made on it. But it's just good to keep these things in mind for the future when you're sort of like trying to play the deck in the future because it seems like it is a somewhat popular deck in this tournament. And so I hope that people actually try to play with it more, grind with the deck a bit, and do pretty well. Ring on a Witch. Wow. Never really.
He must have Jinzo in hand because he really wants the
Yeah.
tribute fodder on board.
Yeah, very interesting to see here. Yeah, that's wild. They might also have
Especially because
access.
yeah.
Hmm.
We'll get better at
Oh, yeah.
commentating together.
Yeah, Raindance says in the comments, why is Blah listening to the stream while playing? Yeah, I generally don't encourage people to listen to the stream while they're playing because I don't want them to sort of get tips on what to do and stuff because we'll discuss like, oh, this might be the better player, this might be the better play. So in general, I sort of don't encourage it.
Oh. I was thinking if he kept because I was like if you let the witch hit the Sangan, you only take whoa.
Oh, that's pretty good.
But he used his normal summon, so what is he just trying to get damage in?
Oh, Deskawala. It was the read. It was the soul read.
That is a 2,000 life point swing.
Yeah, that's honestly pretty good.
He would have taken 1,200.
Justice Punch says in the YouTube comments, to me, Secret Barrel looks like a floor tile that flips over to reveal a big gun, kind of like a rotating bookcase passage. And I think I like that interpretation as well. Because you see the like lines, those like arcs of a circle, right? Those could be a rotating motion. So I think that makes sense. Magic Cylinder on Discwall is kind of weird, honestly.
Yeah, because it wasn't in danger of lethal.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, I get it if like they're trying to get aggressive to like stem any like OTK pushes, but like
I think he might be really worried about Jinzo and just trying to get the traps out the way.
that could be too. Yeah, because that's not a bad side deck card for the scientist deck, especially against a burn deck as well. Ragers might have also just sided out of the scientist like FTK stuff. They might still be playing scientists and stuff, but they might not be all in on that strategy. Because...
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so slow. Is everybody's playing burn because it shuts down the scientist FTK?
I think that's
if
one
you
reason
get, like, enough damage off early?
Yeah, I think that's one reason to do it. Like, Poison the Old Man, Secret Barrel, those sorts of things. If you fire them off mid-scientist combo, it can be really, really annoying for the scientist player to deal with.
Yeah.
They do have some ways to actually stop that, right? Like, if they bring out Ryu Senshi, that shuts down Secret Barrel. I mean, you still have to pay the life points, so it doesn't really shut down Secret Barrel. But there are some ways to play around it, sort of. So,
I'm sorry, going back to like 2 turns ago, I'm still thinking about the ring of destruction to save the Sengen because
mm,
you only take 100 damage, you save your ring, and most importantly, Sengen can search a lot of cards, so he still has not gotten his Sengen search off. So I'm still trying to figure out why was he so cautious about protecting it.
yeah, I'm also like very confused by that. Um, but I guess maybe because they had the change, they just want to get super aggressive, right?
Mm.
Because Witch searches out a monster. If History of YG1 commits to that monster, then you've got Change of Heart to go for a big damage swing. And we're already seeing like the life points are pretty low at this point in the game. So you kind of want to just keep that damage momentum going. So I can kind of see it. I'm not sure if it's the right play or not, but we also don't see the rest of Aratos' hand here. So depending on what they've got in hand, it might be the way it is. And same with History of YGO1, right? Like the Magic Cylinder seemed kind of weird, but based on what they've got in hand, it might not really be as weird as it seems. So it really just depends on what each player's got. And
Justice
unfortunately,
Punch has a comment for you.
oh yeah, in the Stein formats, people play random burn cards in a bunch of different decks, so it's possible that's a similar concept. Yeah, and it's actually kind of more powerful in this format than in the Stein formats because with Stein you're paying 5,000, but that still means you've got 3,000 life points left if you're doing it from full life points. So a burn deck like Poisoning the Old Man that won't necessarily stop the FTK or I guess OTK in that case. Whereas in this format, since you really do need to use a lot of your life points, it can be kind of rough for you. This is a major push on History YGO1's part, but this is actually very, very good for them. If they're playing a lot of burn cards, there's so many things that actually, just kill Aratos here. So,
And during that play, yeah, Secret Barrel is game.
yeah. So if they've
Or
got
even
another
one
one,
turn wave motion. Yeah.
yeah, if they've got another one, then that'll be the end of the game. And so if you're Ratos, you got to be very, very scared, especially 3 back row. Yep, and there's a
There it
secret
is.
barrel. Yep, so that will indeed be the end of the game. Um, so yeah, and that shows like how aggressive the burn deck can be. Um, again, maybe Ratos should have played a bit more conservatively, but it's a really tricky deck both to pilot and to play against. So cool to see it doing well in this locals.
And he of note, he would have been alive if he didn't take the ring of destruction damage.
Yeah. That's another very good thing to point out. And just saving Ring of Destruction for a very vital point. It's very important. Now you could just
And
now if History of YG1 had another burn back row as well, then it might not have mattered either way. But still it's kind of interesting to think about.
and just for fun, in that final play, we witnessed one of the rarest plays in Yu-Gi-Oh, the -1 Raigeki as he hit the
Yeah.
Witch and Senga.
But it worked.
It worked.
So, occasionally you just got to use your cards in very, very innovative ways. History YG1's opening with Pot of Greed. Aratos, if they are still on the FTK in the main deck, then, they must not. Oh, Pot into Graceful. Oof. That is devastating.
I'm predicting a duo right here.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, in these formats, there are much worse things than Duo that could be fired right now. Um, I personally think that like a Forceful or a Comfy is generally more powerful than a Duo, because the hand knowledge is so important. But yeah, interesting.
Very
History
rare.
One is on
Discards the
Swordsman.
Witch.
Hmm?
Oh, just discarding the Witch. Very In fact, both.
Yeah,
I mean, those are those are two kind of power cards almost.
yeah, for the burn deck especially. So it just must mean the other cards in hand are very good.
This might be an OTK, right?
Yeah, I mean, luckily in this format, there's like no Geometrio.
Yeah.
So they can't like win through like triple justice or Geometrio, right? But hitting ceasefire is very
Ooh,
good there.
that must be a. I'm sorry.
No,
I thought I was like he didn't chain the ceasefire, and I was like, oh, it's an end phase.
yeah, and I mean, if Ratos has set a fiber jar, then they must be feeling good about
Yeah.
this. Looks like it is a tomato. I mean, still 1,000 damage, 1,000 damage to get rid of. So
I think triple secret barrel into fiber jar right here would be one of the funniest moments.
that would be hilarious. But Exiled Force will cut off
Ooh,
that play. And okay, that's pretty good. Clearing Deskawala, very annoying card to get over. when you're playing monster with 1400 attack, and also when you got a full hand. So Razor's going to set 2, pass back to History of Waijo 1, and honestly, I mean, it's not looking too bad for them. Chain Energy will come down, but Razor has a pretty stable board right now. Of course, the back row could definitely interfere with that, but
So,
oh
no, it is heavy
wow,
though.
that is very, very good. History of Waijo 1 just gonna chain an MST because
Chain energy coming. Chain strike.
yeah, yeah. Well, actually, the double MST there would actually
Oh,
interfere with the
this
chain
is
strike.
where no, never mind.
Yeah, Secret
Actually,
Barrel.
yes, no. So Arados messed up there.
Did they?
So they could have, if they chained the MST onto their own heavy, they would have taken 200 less damage when Secret Barrel. Unless maybe or Secret Barrel was activated after, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Secret Barrel was activated later, so nothing
But
they
that is
really
a
could have
fun thing
done
to keep
there.
in mind for later. You can MST your own card and take, if you chain it to Secret Barrel, and
Yeah.
take 200 less damage.
So yeah, they could have passed priority to History of Waijo 1, and then History of Waijo 1 would have chained Secret Barrel. Razors would have chained MST.
So yeah, you're right. There was no reason for Arados to chain it, actually.
Whoa!
That's a very whoa! One of my favorite cards.
Harshath, and that will get solemned, but honestly, if you're a Ratos, I feel like you're feeling pretty good about that. Overall.
I don't like Burns' chances on a top decking war.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's why you're feeling pretty decent. Also, Ratos got 6,300 life points. That's a lot for Burn to get through there. And now History of Waijo 1's at 850. Oof, this is gonna be pretty rough. Yeah, they're gonna set another, but it's kind of just the beginning of the end here, I think. And MST Solemn, yep, that will indeed be the end of the game. So wow, very, very insane game 3 here. But oh yeah, and Monster Reborn. Yeah, I mean Heavy is a major out to the burn deck.
If only he had those 2 Solemns a turn earlier.
Yeah, exactly. But I even with the Solemns, it's kind of rough because you're under chain energy. If you Solemn, you're down half. Like it's kind of awkward in that case. But very cool to see. I mean, that was just an awesome game, I think, overall. But that is one of the risks that the burn deck has to deal with.
Welcome back, Blah.
Yeah, welcome
back. Not having the Solemn when he had the Heavy hurt very badly.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that, like, as a Burn player, like, it's one of the things that makes Burn such a tricky deck. Oh, that Thousand Eyes actually was summoned out with meta, so yeah, that will actually work out this way. But that's one of the interesting, or one of the tricky things about playing Burn as a deck. You have to sort of commit a fair amount of back row, but you can't commit too much back row if you don't have the protection, because your opponent's just going to bring in the Harpies, the Heavies, the spell and trap removal. So
I see the Metamorphosis was used on a Magician of Faith, but part of me was hoping he attributed a Magical Scientist.
Oh, that would also be very funny. Or you could use Magical Scientist to bring out a Thousand Eyes, meta out another Thousand Eyes.
Yeah.
The majority of my back row were flippables. I could just flip them, except for Magic Cylinder. That's why I did all that. But he sniped a Ceasefire, and everything.
I mean, the Ceasefire wouldn't have mattered there.
No, not in the grand scheme of things. I was saying that I would have had less to destroy.
Yeah.
That's why you can't set 5.
Yeah, unless you got the Solemn backup. No Starlight Road for quite a while, unfortunately.
What a great card! I ran literally for about my first 3 years of competitive. I don't think I made a single deck without at least 2 Starlight Road. Because all my decks are like 20 traps.
I mean, it's such a cool deck in terms of like, I feel like it's very balanced. Because because
it sounds insane. The effect sounds, you negate a power card like Heavy Storm or Dark Hole, and you summon a Stardust Dragon for free. It sounds insane, but every time you have it, they're never blowing up 2 cards or more. You're like, I wish this was any other card.
Yeah, also the Stardust can only be used once for its effect, that is, because it wasn't properly summoned, so when it tributes itself off, it can't bring itself back. So it actually is kind of balanced in my eyes. And as you said, they can just play around it. So I think it's really, really cool.
I'll open like Solemn Judgment, Starlight Road, set that, and like they'll summon like a Thunder King Ryo, and I'm like, well, I don't want to burn 4,000 life points stopping a Ryo, and then but now I don't have Deep Prison, I don't have Bottomless, I don't have Mirror Force. I wish that Starlight Road was an actual trap.
Yeah. Uh, and I'm excited to get to those formats because I have a lot of nostalgia for that time period of Yu-Gi-Oh's history. Um, but there are different forms of nostalgia, I think, with a lot of these formats. Like I never
My
really, played much in the DM era except for like on the
yeah.
playground, right? Um, so like it's cool just, going back and playing decks that, I'd heard of in like Pojo magazine and stuff. But never really got the chance to play. Um, but it
I have a very weird form of nostalgia. I don't think it's real Yu-Gi-Oh unless you're running 3 Pot of Duality.
Potter Duality is
It's
also a
just
very balanced card in my opinion.
it is I think it is the most balanced card ever made.
Yeah, it's definitely up there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
One of them,
I'm excited
especially
to
considering modern.
Yeah.
yeah, well in like that's the thing too. A lot of these cards, how balanced they are really depends on the format that they're in.
It's honestly it might be correct me here because I'm not that knowledgeable on this era of cards, but it feels like one of the first earliest cards where they correctly future proofed it.
Yeah.
Like it has the perfect restrictions.
No, I agree. I think like because special summoning was the future of the game, right? So, when decks became much, much more special summon reliant, um,
And not even just that, but the once per turn clause. Because if you could
yeah.
play 3 duality in a turn, that would really speed up some decks.
Yeah, that would be insane.
Exodia.
Yeah. Well, I mean
Exodia would have
any
been
deck.
much worse than it
Yeah.
was
Well, any deck because
later, a bit
now
later. Yeah.
like now, I mean I say now, but in formats where, duality is widely played, oftentimes what you'll see is people will, fire duality and see a duality off it, right?
Yeah.
And if you could
half
activate
half
more
the
than one
time I
per
grab
turn,
it for the
yeah.
next turn.
If you could activate like multiple per turn, it would be a very easy choice, right? Because like
Yeah.
if either there'd be a very powerful card in that trio that you just snatch up immediately, or you just take the duality and go again. But because it's hard ones per turn, uh, you actually have to think about that. And like there are situations where you just want to go again next turn, and you just sort of bide your time for a turn. And there are situations where you just like go for a different one because you're like, I need to do something this turn, and unfortunately that duality is just dead this turn, so I can't take it.
And
But
this is kind of common knowledge, but this is me being I didn't notice this for like years. Because it's called Pot of Duality, I was always like, "Oh, this is like a retrain of Pot of Greed. This is their chance. This is their attempt at making it balance." But somebody pointed out it's actually a retrain of Graceful Charity because you get the top 3 cards off your deck and you pick one of them.
To an
yeah,
extent, yes. But even on release, duality was just a tad too strong
I
at
mean
the
it depends
time.
on what you mean by too strong. Like I still think
It's
it's
A tad.
I
It's not OP or anything. It was just very powerful because decks weren't as reliant on summoning using monsters as pieces
hmm.
to go into their extra deck back then.
We've got some people chiming in the YouTube comments about duality. Rain Dance says duality is great unless you play Chaos Dragons, and yep, that's very true.
Eh,
That deck wants to special
yep.
summon quite a bit. Justice Punch says I primarily play early DM and Zexal formats. Don't know about Edison, but by the time we get to Zexal, the Starlight Road versus Heavy Storm dynamic just feels unhealthy to me. And yeah,
it's
this
definitely
is
unhealthy.
yeah. I mean, this is what we were saying. Like, it really does depend on the format. I think to a large degree. I think that in Edison, the Starlight Road interaction is pretty like it's pretty balanced in Edison. But I definitely like I've played some Zexal formats, but I haven't played like all of them. And I could definitely see it being pretty busted around that time. Especially
Yes.
like
Heavy
yeah, in like
heavy just gets more and more broken as time passes. Like there's a reason we have harpies instead of heavy storm, despite
yeah, well, I mean that's
historically
because of
heavy
like
being
artifacts
worse.
and things like that, and cards that want to be sent to
Artifacts,
graveyard. But
virtual world having a 2 card combo that gets
yeah,
them
exactly.
VFD,
So,
Heavy,
but
etc.
heavy storm being banned and harpies being legal is the perfect example of what went wrong with Yu-Gi-Oh.
yeah, but again, this is what it goes back to the thing where like it really depends on the format. Like for a lot of formats in the game's history, Heavy Storm is the more balanced version of Harpy's Feather Duster because there aren't
Definitely.
really as many ways to abuse popping your own back row. But then at a certain point in
And
the
it's
game's history, it becomes the
yeah.
reverse because there are decks that definitely want to pop their own back row. Oh, that's interesting. They're
It's
firing.
even
Yep, and
yeah.
that will indeed do it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That is I never thought about metamorphosis can be used with scientists
Yeah, it's one of the
to
most
Yeah.
powerful ways to do it because you get to choose between Bolt or a Sentry basically,
Yeah.
or Fiend Skull, which Fiend Skull can come up.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but exiled and then yeah, pot of greed. That's you got to do what you got to do when you're at 200 life points.
Dude, the format where I started playing, it was a very special time in Yu-Gi-Oh's history. When I joined, Heavy Storm was banned. MST was limited to 2.
Oh wow.
There was
Uh,
I think we had
yeah.
Trunade. I think we had Trunade.
Yeah. Speaking of that, that's how they tried to fix that dynamic by banning heavy and leaving Trunade.
Yeah.
Then people realized Trunade was worse.
Yeah,
Because there's
Trunade's
no counter to it.
yeah, Trunade's
Yes.
pretty busted.
But yeah, dude,
Yeah,
there was no,
Justice
like
Punch.
people were unironically playing Dust Tornado.
Yeah, I mean, you do what you got to do to get that spell and trap removal. And I am excited. Like, I think a lot of the DM era formats have a great charm where that you can really play like anything in terms of the cards, right?
Oh,
Like nothing is
he's
banned.
wiping the board.
Yep, and then bringing out Zilug, attacking into Scientist, pitching from hand. And that's pretty good.
Wait, what?
DNS.
Do not summon.
Okay,
Huh?
there's something here.
Oh,
Double normal summon maybe.
What got summoned?
Oh, double
I thought
normal
Reborn
summon,
brought
yeah.
out Exiled.
There's-
so
I
unless
think,
he has protection, Scientist is it?
Wait, what got summoned?
And this is
oh,
yeah, he did summon
I think
Exile.
he double
He had,
he exiled, tributed,
Yep,
reborn.
yeah.
yes, he should have attacked with Exiled Force, then
Yeah.
pop.
Yeah, I mean that would have. I mean, potentially DK would have had a way to deal with that, but let's see. Hand was Harpy's MSC.
Nope.
So yeah, that would have been. I mean, any
He
draw
had
off
the
the
top
top would
deck
be
and
pretty
answer.
good, but yeah, it would be definitely a very interesting game there.
And
But that's how they go
unfortunately,
sometimes,
replays.
right?
Yeah.
So that's just how it goes. And now we're in the finals, I believe. Yeah, we've got Aratos, and then they'll be facing off against DK0. So very exciting to see how this turns out. Looks like these are 2 players on the Scientist deck, which potentially, hints at the power of the Scientist deck. I mean, I've been saying how powerful it is, throughout the stream, but there's one thing in just, saying how powerful it is and another in seeing some tournament results. And, this might be a sign as to what the finals of the big monthly tournament are going to look like tomorrow. And, again, if you're just tuning in to stream and you're interested in breaker format and you want to play it for yourself in a competitive setting, we are indeed going to be having the monthly tournament for it starting tomorrow. Sign up ends at noon Eastern Standard Time. So definitely sign up if you are interested. It should be a lot of fun. But yeah, while they're starting here, I want to just go through some of the other comments about Duality, Starlight Road, all that stuff. Red Eye Solari says, my intro to Yugi tubing was during the Zexal era. Traps and Duality were really common. I feel like, wow. Did Aratos just like brick or like, oh wait, okay, DK. Yeah, so DK had the combo there. Oh, did DK show hand? Is that what happened?
Paladin can't be summoned by anything except
Paladin can be
fusion.
summoned by fusion summon.
But Soul saying Paladin Scientist.
Oh yeah. Well, I will be releasing a video right after stream covering Dark Paladin Turbo, which should be a lot of fun. So definitely check it out afterwards. But yeah, show hand and bit defeat the format.
We got so confused. That should have been a way funnier moment. It just said viewing opponent's hands and then admitted defeat.
Yeah, I didn't see that because I was looking in the comments because I was like, okay, there'll be a little bit of time before before something actually happens in the game. But
you need to upload that as a standalone video. Say locals finals game 1.
Yeah, the breaker format experience.
Scientist.
Yep.
That's just it. Scientist is going to cheese wins.
Yep.
That's
and
what you're going to have to deal with.
I mean, that's one of the powers of the deck and one of the things in this format that people do have to accept, right? Like, I still think the format is fun even with that because I'm a degenerate who enjoys FTKs. But sometimes there'll be an easier line to the FTK than others. and sometimes that will just come down to rock paper scissors. So it's something
Now
that
Funny, yeah.
yeah.
The
oh,
funny
well,
thing is, go ahead, Cole.
no, because I had a bit of a longer tangent, so go real quick.
Now my tangent is going to be a bit long too because it's a bit of a discussion. Go ahead.
Okay, well, mine's very fast then compared to that. Okay, just to round back to this is like 5 minutes into the stream, so we get to finally conclude this in the finals. I said there were 2 new cards I was hoping to see this format. Looks like we didn't get to see either of them. I said Royal Decree, and there was one other card I'm really hoping to see. Are y'all familiar with the card Grass Looks Greener?
Yes.
We have a baby version of that. Do you know what card I'm referring to?
Reasoning?
Well, reasoning we
It's a
have
new card.
seen in
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, but
But this one is not a spell; it is a monster.
it's a monster. Oh, Magical Merchant. Yeah,
Magical
oh
Merchant's
yeah,
very cool.
yeah.
I
Merchant, we not gonna really see unless we see an actual OTK deck that isn't burn like.
well,
Dude,
I
our
think the
answer was
Merchant can be interesting. Like light meta was something that people did
Yes.
last format. Playing things like Soul Purity and Light and Metamorphosis, doing interesting combos with that. And that is potentially something we could
Oh.
see with Magical Merchant because it mills a bunch of monsters.
I
Team
was running.
Comedian
I was running
is an
some
answer
wild.
too.
Yeah, I was running some wild decks back in the day though. I had like Magical Merchant with three spell and traps total. So
Oh.
I would mill like 20 cards. I had triple tour guide and Sangan to like search it out too. So I'd set it, mill like 20 cards. I had like Dark Arm Dragon, Blackluster Soldier, like just Mizuki and stuff, especially some big zombies. It was the deck made no sense unless Magical Merchant was hit.
Magical Merchant's just such a build around. It's such a fun build around that is. And yeah, like I'm a big fan of the card. I think people haven't been experimenting with it because there have been just more exciting things to experiment with.
Yeah.
But I hope that we
And
do
not as
see
many
some.
things, not as many things to mill.
Yeah, that too.
But that's the end of my tangent, though.
Scientist here is
Well.
pretty good. You can bring up Balter, hit into Sanyan. Now the question is, do you also commit to a Senshi as well? But the fact that they brought up Balter first means that they're probably not going to do that because normally you bring out Senshi first if you are worried about that sort of thing. So
Like a Mirror
Yeah.
Force, you're saying?
All right.
yeah, Mirror Force, or a TT.
There will be no meta, so Balter returns to the fusion deck.
Yeah, there couldn't be a meta because of IO.
Yeah,
But still,
I
I mean,
know.
it got value, right? DK's at 2 cards in hand. Sangan doesn't get to search. So I think that's a pretty good turn for a Ratos there.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, never mind. Call will bring back that Sangan.
Yeah.
So
Possibly, but yeah. About what I was going to talk about, it's a bit of a discussion if Ben will let me.
well, what's the discussion?
Yeah. You know how we got Scientist first, yes. It's a powerful card when paired with other cards and even on its own. But it's actually supposed to be a worse Stein.
Yeah.
A worse Cyberstein.
Yeah, no, I generally
yeah.
try and, restrict conversation to the format at hand or the TCG formats. Because I do think that, like, the OCG can be interesting to learn some lessons from. But I think, especially in the DM era, like, the formats were so different that, I don't know. I'm not really, like, I don't think it's as valuable to talk about as some other things. This is a very, very good play for Ratos here. They get to bring up Balshar again, hit over the Sangan again, and get in for 1900. They are pretty low in life, though. So that is a bit of a concern.
Yes. Imperial Order, while strong, does hurt Scientist's capacity to OTK.
Yeah.
But he's trying to win without OTKing here.
Yeah, and that's what we mentioned earlier, too, where, like, you don't need to go all in on the OTK, right? Like, you've got enough good cards in it. Like, Scientist is a good card on its own. So, like, you're playing enough good stuff cards that you can just win through that. And it looks like we're seeing that here.
I'm sorry. It's honestly just it's one of my jokes, I guess. But it's honestly so funny to me.
What?
Is picturing just like I wish I could go back in time. I want to sit in the Yu-Gi-Oh office when they're sitting around trying to figure out this card game, and they're like, "All right, let's make a generic card that can summon 7 fusion monsters in your first turn." That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, no, a
They
great
just
idea.
they had no,
Yeah.
they couldn't even picture like the degeneracy that we would
I
cause.
mean, to be fair, the scientist at OTK kills exactly.
Yeah.
So it can be tough to anticipate those sorts of exact sort of
Yeah.
OTKs, and also it uses some just normal fusion monsters. Like,
It's just funny
Mm.
to think back to Pot of Duality where they're like, cannot special summon. You can only activate once per turn. And then just a few years earlier, they were like, you can just special summon whatever from your extra deck 7 times.
It
yeah,
took a few months for scientists to really start seeing play in the OCG because of that.
Hmm.
Stein was considered better because it was more immediate and the damage was done. Once it happened, there was no real way to disrupt it. Go second, you win.
oh, okay.
While
You know that.
scientists,
Rip.
Yeah.
It looks like Aratos might have miscalculated here.
Oh
Oof.
no.
Because now they can't actually use Scientist's effect with 1,000 life points. So, yeah, it looks like DK will let them
Boo.
take it back. And,
Boo.
I think this is a locals tournament, right? This is a casual sort of event. It's meant as practice for the bigger tournament starting tomorrow. So,
oh,
I'll allow it. I think it's fun. And it makes for more interesting games, more like skill testing games as well, right?
all right.
Um,
Probably bringing out Witch or Sangan. Witch
Well,
here.
you got to bring out Witch because Sangan's engraved. But yeah, Sangan could be a good
Yeah.
choice. Serpents could
Unless
be
unless
another.
he's
Or
about to be
can't
a
bring out
The
ban
Serpents.
witch
from the
Wang
locals.
Hu will trigger
Yep.
popping the
And then you get a
witch,
search
letting him
off the
thin.
Witch. Yeah.
It's
Uh,
exact pot of greed. You get to
uh,
pick what you want.
it's not quite pot of greed, but
Now, I'm
Why
saying
did-
exact. You search, you get
yeah. Well,
exactly
you're
what
not
you want from
going.
it.
So pot of greed
but
gets you
just call it
+1 in
exact
advantage.
upstart goblin.
Yeah, it's basically
Yeah.
upstart goblin.
Or we'll call it Turbo Gold Sark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But DK does have a bit of a choice here. They likely do have some ways to deal with Wang Hu in deck, but they've got to pick which one they want to use.
Does anyone know why Wanku glows green?
Yeah, that's the overwhelming power that destroys monsters with 1,400 or less attack.
I guess so. But he looks more like
Probably
he kind of looks more like a bear in
Yeah.
some ways.
It's supposed to
Okay.
be Wanfu. If I remember right, that's one of the 4 zodiac. Not the. I'm being stupid. Let me think about it for a
Well,
second.
it's even cooler than that. The background of Breaker's car, like what's this purple zone that he's in?
Well, those are a bunch of. It looks almost like the spell counter symbols, repeated over and over again. And
Yeah,
Now,
it's a common name for tigers.
what, Wang Hu?
Wanfu. Wanghu, I don't know why they said it that way, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's supposed to be Wanfu
Well-
in Japanese.
Well, because there was in ancient China there was Wang Zhao, who was a famous animal hunter, and one of his apprentices saw this giant tiger, this king tiger, and he said, "Somebody get Wang Zhu." And the guy said he couldn't hear him. He was like, "Wang who?" And that's how he got the name for the tiger.
Wow.
What a fiber
True.
jar!
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good fiber jar here. The issue is with only 2,200 life. Now that's not quite enough for there are potentially some hands that will allow Ratos to kill DK here,
Yeah.
but it's unlikely that they'll draw them. So
I want to see it. I want to see him in the game on this hand.
it would be really cool. But Pop
Oh,
will help.
agreed.
Pop will help. That's for sure.
And wait, is Last Will active? Did things go to the graveyard?
No.
Things did not hit the graveyard on Ratos' side, unfortunately.
Pot of greed into painful. Come on,
That is-
Aratus.
That is pretty good. I mean, if anything can fuel the OTK this turn, it's that.
Do you send like 3 Gillosauruses and like?
Yeah, I
do
mean,
something
Gilsource
else?
isn't a bad choice to send off Painful. Because it's just kind of like a card you don't want to draw,
Uh,
right?
I don't think DK's life points are low enough to get the OTK this
We're
turn.
about to find
From
Well,
out.
yeah, that's
yeah,
what I'm
Eric-
saying. There
let's
are
say-
some ways to do it though.
No. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear any negativity. I want to hear everybody say, if he gets the combo, it's game over.
I'm
It
excited.
is game over.
I'm hoping to
He just
see
needs
it.
2 last will.
So all Ratos needs, because Turtle
Like,
plus
you send three-
Scientist is 1,700 damage. Because you bring out a 2,100 attack monster, tribute off for Turtle, and that's 1050. Scientist 150. Turtle is 500. So that adds up to
I'm sorry,
1,700. So if Ratos has just basically any other monster that they can actually get out on field in addition,
Yeah.
then they will.
And
indeed
DK
win the
cannot.
game.
And
But
and
yeah.
scientist is at 3 in this format.
Scientist
Yes.
is at 3 copies.
So if he has like Reborn in hand, he'd send 3 scientists and like
That's
definitely
true.
get it.
Yeah. Reborn
Yeah.
could also allow Aratos to get another monster on field potentially.
Yeah.
Last Will, Reborn,
Ooh.
Gylosaurus, and Catapult Turtle
So
will
he
win
doesn't
this
have
game.
it. He doesn't have it because he sent some stun cards.
He doesn't have, but those are pretty good cards to send there because Forceful allows
Yeah.
them to pick apart DK's hand, prevent the FTK on DK's side. Wangu shuts down the FTK as well. TT,
You have to give him Torrential. I don't think there's any other choice.
Yeah, I mean, TT probably is the best card to pick there, but if DK does have Spell and Trap move, then that could be pretty bad for Ratos.
That might have been the most painful choice I've ever seen. That was tough.
I think those were a good 5 to send though.
I think DK needs a Duster or Heavy Storm and hope he doesn't have Io.
Well, it's kind of interesting because if DK summons out like Scientist. Oh, well, there's
if Aratos somehow had Starlight Road, I would have lost it.
And Ring
Io
too.
in this format.
There's Magical Scientist. And do they have a way to get a turtle out as well? They might not. They might just go for a Balter here, hit over the set, and
he
then
just needs meta.
But
he just needs meta and 2
last
activations.
And last one. But
meta on a Balter.
He's so low. A Gemini Elf could win the game.
Yeah, it depends on what the set is. Actually, yeah, meta on Balter for another Balter, and then you have a third Balter left in the deck to bring out.
And you pay.
No, you have to meta Scientist for Thousand Eyes, huh? Because you can't leave him in attack mode.
No, but you'd be winning the game that way if you have meta to bring out another Balter, and then you use Scientist to bring out another Balter. So you attack the set with the last Balter you brought out with Scientist, attack in for 2,000 with the first Balter.
Y'all's brains are too big for me.
It's a risk though. If that's
he's going for game.
Reaper.
Does he have the meta?
True. But I think it's ultimately a risk that'd be worth taking. But I mean, it also depends on what
I don't think it's Spirit Reaper though.
Guys, I need all y'all to get hyped. Does he have the Metamorphosis?
I'm hyped.
We're hyped.
Oh, you know
we just have to wait for it to drop.
You know what would be very funny? You Metamorphosis the
Empress
and go for Reaper on the Nightmare. But okay,
what?
Metamorphosis.
Spirit Reaper game! Spirit Reaper game!
Let's go! You got Super Robo.
Robo.
Wait, he brought up the wrong one. He
brought
Super Robo Lady.
Cool. No, this one's cooler.
No, you wanted Ryusenshi.
No, Robo Lady would do it. Robo Lady gains 1,000 when it attacks directly.
This one's cooler.
Yeah, Robo Lady is the one that would do it.
Champion! We have a champion!
No.
Yeah, it would have to be Robo Lady.
Wait, you're right. I thought he had like 800 life points. No!
It's so unfortunate. I mean, this would have been the end of the game here. So we'll see what Aratos does, but Aratos might just be like, yeah, you got it, you know. Yeah, the lady is GG. Yeah, Aratos should have lost anyways, so they might just, might take it. But I don't think it would be bad to see this game continue on for a bit longer because it's been a fun game so far.
DK has lost.
DK let him take back the premature burial.
It depends on what DK's got in hand versus what Ratos got in hand.
Aratos. Yes. I want ring draw. I want ring draw.
By
hold
who?
on. DK,
because Ratos can't draw ring because ring's in grave.
DK let him take back the premature burial on
but if that's not happening.
We got a Harpies on the back row. DK's thinking maybe he has ring, maybe he's just
ring
like,
the scientist.
Do I go for it?
Ring the scientist.
Well, that would be a draw. So DK might be like,
that's what I want. That's what I want.
But B-Sox, you with me here? Are you with me? He let him take back the premature burial on scientist.
He did it
for the lady.
No, I think you can definitely do that.
It
just depends on what each player wants to do. Like again,
pay attention.
Like
it's a draw.
Yeah, it is. I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna complain with more gameplay coming down, right? So
it's the first draw. The first Ring of Destruction draw.
Is it really the first one we've seen on the channel? I feel like we've seen it happen before.
No, we haven't had a draw yet, but this is also the first Ring of Destruction draw.
Yeah.
Draw.
Yeah, there is an RPS after the draw, I believe. So just going back to whether, a player's got the FTK or not. So very, very intense game. As to Joker says, crazy close game indeed. Very cool to see. But yeah, I mean, I commend DK for going for the cool play. Unfortunately, Yaro won't quite do it. It has to be Lady. Yeah.
Or just Senshi. Just go for
Well,
the
Senji
game.
would also do it, but it's so much less cool. You want to bring out the Robos.
I know. Oh, I know. I'm well aware, but still.
Yeah. I mean,
It just
beyond
that was a
Senji could
terrible
also have been like
mistake.
an Empress Dredge, Punished Eagle, Roaring Ocean Snake as well.
Yes.
But yeah, okay, so that was indeed the right choice for DK to make, as Ratos did indeed have a monster in hand. But very cool to see, and I'm sure both players welcome the chance for more practice because, as I said, we do indeed have a tournament starting tomorrow. So very good to get as much practice as you can and for this format, as much testing as you can at high level as well. So
funnier thing, if this were the OCG, yes, I know you don't like it, but still, we could have seen Crimson Sunbird.
That's true. That is a DB profile pick, I believe, still, or at least it used to be.
Yes.
So that's a very fun card to see as well. We got it way too late in the TCG, but yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't really have that much difference in attack. They didn't really change the math on much.
No, it's just 2,300. It does a minor change. It actually makes it easier to FTK
Show hand
or OTK from slightly lower life points.
I mean, this may as well be show hand in GG because Wangu shuts down the science deck quite thoroughly. As we've seen in some of my videos, featuring the scientist deck, like if you decide in a Wangu and open the Wangu, like it's so powerful. There are ways for the scientist deck to get around it, but it can be a bit tricky.
Oh,
card destruction here.
And DK decided to go for it to see if he can draw his way out.
I mean, I think card D is pretty good here, especially
wow.
with that hand.
His hand was terrible.
Maybe the Reborn would have been good to set because then you can reborn the Gila. Oh no, you can't reborn the Gila because Wangu's on field. I guess you could reborn one.
He could have still set the reborn.
Right. Every single card is worthless. Wangu stopped 4 cards in that hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wangu.
That's why it had some utility in Yada. It works on those recruiter decks.
But in this
here,
format, it's especially powerful.
But my question for you, B-Sucks.
I'll be right back.
Are we going to start seeing, depending on the results, are we going to see scientist decks just main decking 3 Wangu to stop other scientist decks?
Oh, that would be very funny. I think scientist decks may not because it does shut down their own plays as well. But I think regular good stuff decks could definitely do that because if you know the meta is going if you know that everyone else is going to be playing scientist decks, you might as well play a card in the main that just stops the scientist decks and also is decent against other decks too. As Block's been saying, it does stop recruiters. There are a variety of things it is good against. So
I don't want to give away the secret sauce, but the 11 people watching this right now are about to win the whole tournament. Run scientist with 2 copies of Secret Barrel to stop other scientist decks.
Yeah, and it can also assist in the OTK as well, or the FTK as well, because if you can't quite get the damage in, you set some Secret Barrels, deal some extra damage, and there you go. You're off to the races.
Especially on that last game, 200 versus 300 life points.
Ooh, that's actually pretty interesting. So, yeah, you got to give them meta here, because Dark Hole and Raigeki do it. But this implies that DK might have a way to meta out something that can get over Wangu.
I think that was a trick.
They're going for but Thousand Eyes pops. That won't work.
Yeah,
that doesn't work the way that you want it to.
Yeah. So he tries to use Prio, and then
but it doesn't work because it's just like with Exiled, right?
Oh no, actually you can't use Prio because Wangu triggers immediately.
Exactly.
So
so
you can use Ignition.
It won't quite work out. Now there could have actually been a play there with a Legendary Ocean, which some Scientist FTK decks are playing a Legendary Ocean. What you can do is activate Legendary Ocean, set a Catapult Turtle from your hand, because level 4 in hand, but when it's face down on field, it's level 5. And then you could meta that and bring out Dark Balter. But
now,
I mean, you need a very special set of cards in hand for that.
Now, B-Sox, what was
jankiest spinels ever.
Yeah. Oh, Justice
V-Sox,
Punch.
what was your...
Yeah,
sorry.
Justice Punch has a very interesting comment that I just want to highlight before you ask the question. They say, I have the perfect side deck card for Scientist decks to run, Hysteric Fairy. And that's very interesting because it does get over Wanghu. It can also increase your life points to fuel the OTK later. So actually might be a secret sauce there. What do y'all think?
Yeah.
I do.
Honestly,
I like the 1800 attack points.
yes. I prefer Book of Moon.
Book of Moon also does something there. Book of Moon's just
It
a little bit more
sets-
situational though, because like
I think
No.
it's situational.
It sets Wanghu.
yes,
Wanghu
I
can't
understand that.
activate.
No, I understand that, but if your opponent's got like a battle trap or something preventing you from killing Wanghu, then it didn't really do anything.
Well, but then the Hysteric Fairy doesn't kill it either.
That's true. But also the Hysteric
Yes.
Fairy on its own can get in for damage. So I like.
But Book of Moon can, if you have a Magician of Faith survive, if you're running Magician of Faith, you flip it, and then Book of Moon to reset it. It has utility.
There are definitely things
And
you can do with it.
It can set other monsters. It can even set Breaker.
But you
Speaking
wouldn't
of
really want to
duality,
set Breaker. I mean, you can set Breaker.
It could
but
if you.
There are instances
Situations.
Where you want to, but like I don't know. I feel like Book is just a little bit too situational in this format. Like I feel like there are better removal options. Like I feel like Raigeki
There's
is
more-
a better removal option than Book. You have to wait a turn.
Jinzo shuts it down.
Yeah, if your opponent's bringing out Jinzo, then like you've got other they've got to tribute off Wanghu for Jinzo, right? Like,
but my sorry, my question, my very important question for you,
yeah.
B-Sock. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. I'm waiting.
All right. Cool. Yeah. So we've seen 2 FTKs in this finals. One needed Magical Scientist, Catapult Turtle, Last Will, Gillis, all this crazy stuff. The other FTK we saw was normal summoning a Wanku. Which one do you prefer?
Well, I personally like the sort of solitaire decks that just win on turn 1, like FTK sorts of things. But I mean, it's different strokes for different folks. I mean, I've also been on the side of the player who's just summoned Wanghu and won that way. So
my main joke being one of these combos is way easier. You just summon a monster and your opponent can't do anything.
Yeah, you got to open that monster. That's the rub. You do have to open the Scientist OTK as well, but there are ways to search that out.
Red Eyes points out a very niche thing. Book of Moon cannot be stopped by Bolter. There are not many quick play spells in use, but Book of Moon is one of them.
That's true. So there are some ways to get around that. I still think, like in general, if you're bringing in a tech to mainly deal with one monster, and you have the choice between going for a monster or a spell, I generally go for the monster, because it's one card on its own that can deal with it, whereas the spell would also need another monster in addition to it. It also can just be good on its own for attacking in. So I mean, I personally prefer the Hysteric Fairy, but I mean, more testing is needed, and there definitely is a lot of different ways to sort of. Oh wow, this is a very big turn for Ratos. Duo is pretty good.
Wow.
Plus Dark Hole. Hitting a Raigeki is also extremely good there. But yeah. Oh, also speaking of dealing with the Scientist threat, Zombified Hydra says, I want to fight against the tide that is the Scientist meta, so I will continue to use Pac-Man tomorrow. And I'm really rooting for you, Zombified Hydras, who I believe was Doodle Zombie, who we saw earlier.
He hit the Raigeki and then summons Wanghu.
Yep. Coast is clear, unless they've got like Dark Hole, I guess. But yeah, this is pretty good for Ratos here. Heavy on the back row is pretty good as well. TT, MST, and Ring. Let's see what else DK's got, because this could be very, very good for DK. This could turn the whole game around if they've got a way to deal with the Wanghu.
B-Sox, this is why I said, don't let your opponent take back misplays. This finals could have been over.
It could have, but I mean, isn't this more exciting, right?
But DK's in the back of his head. He's like, I shouldn't have let him take back that premature burial.
I mean, both players
he was up 1-0. He was feeling cocky.
Both players here are local legends. I believe they both won a locals in the past. And So the
Has
stakes.
DK won one?
Yeah, DK's won one.
Yeah,
I
he won.
believe.
He showed his hand in the first game.
No, but
No,
a local.
a local.
Uh,
Oh, sorry.
I'm pretty sure they've won one. I could be misremembering, but I think they won one of the treasure ones. I think, but I might be misremembering that. If so, the stakes are, I guess, high for DK. But I mean,
Yeah, he
I'm
actually
sure.
won Yugi Kaiba.
Okay, you won a Yugi Kaiba one. That makes sense too.
Man eater
Yes.
bug.
Oh, it was the one with the
Fiber-
Clody.
Fiberjar will also deal with this as well. Although it's kind of awkward if
Yes.
Aratos just draws another Wanghu and summons that out. But I mean, at least DK, yeah, DK has Raigeki back, so
Arados is gonna draw hot, graceful, Wenku, confiscation, forceful.
yeah, there's a lot of powerful things Aratos can draw here, and they have not normal summoned this turn, so that means they will be able to commit a monster to board as well.
Oh no! Oh no!
It's
Rip.
Oh no!
one of those.
I mean,
It's
that
one
can
of those
happen.
axioms with Fiber Jar in the format. Don't summon, even if you want to.
I don't think it's an
Don't
axiom
summon.
because there are ways to deal with Fiberjar, and also if you do like push for lethal, it can be good to do.
Yeah.
There are different
I'm saying
circumstances.
if you're not in a position, don't try it.
Yeah, no, I
Just
mean,
attack.
it's definitely generally a good piece of advice to follow, but I wouldn't necessarily call it an axiom. But painful choice here is very good for DK, especially if they're going for combo here. But that triple back row is kind of rough. I feel like DK doesn't have a way to deal with the triple back row, or else they would have fired that first.
I think he needs a heavy, a stormer, Trunade.
Well, if he's playing 3
get
Trunade
through.
in the deck, then he can do heavy Duster, triple Trunade. But I think very few Scientist players are playing triple Trunade in the deck, and for good reason. It can break a lot.
A bit.
Yeah.
It's more supposed to be for going second. If you're going second and you need to clear the way for the FTK.
Yeah, but if you play so many, like if you play heavy Duster and triple Trunade,
Yeah.
then you're decreasing the option of drawing the actual combo pieces that get you into the FTK. So
possibly better in the side deck.
well,
That's
it would
why I'm
definitely be in the
mentioning it
side
now.
deck, but this is game 3, so DK has the
Game
option
4.
to side them in. Well, game 4, but
Game 4.
it's effectively DK lost game 3, I guess, and is now in the position where they know they're going first. So, yeah. I mean, I don't think they have triple Trunade. I generally don't think triple Trunade's good to bring in at the Scientist player, even if you are going second. Because I think you're much more afraid of things like Wanghu than just a bunch of back row. But
I wanted to give a shout out. We talked about Pot of Duality earlier.
Mhm.
I want to give a shout out to, once again, possibly the most balanced staple card of all time. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Book of Moon. It was limited to 1 for a while, and its effect is, compared to other limited spell cards, it's a bit of a underwhelming effect. Possibly the most versatile spell of all time. It can negate an attack, stop an Xyz or a synchro summon, reset a flip effect, let your monster survive bottomless. It's the most versatile card of all time.
oh yeah, and it still sees play like to this day in some capacities. So, it's very, very cool that a card that old is still somewhat relevant. I mean, I think Book of Eclipse is sort of more relevant in the modern meta, but like it's still really cool to see Book of Moon still around. And also it's cool to see the retrain Book of Lunar Eclipse actually not as popular as Book of Moon.
Hold on, I think I don't even know this one. Is this the one? Is there one that's like a double Book of Moon?
Yeah, it's like basically you discard a card to set 2 monsters on the field.
Yeah, that sounds really underwhelming.
Yeah, and that's why it's less popular than Book, or than Book of Moon itself. But it's kind of cool to see.
When they made, but the opposite happened with it. What is it? Is it called Twin Twister or something?
Oh yeah, Twin Twister is the sort of retrain.
That was very used.
Yeah, and it's easy to see why, right? Like, you want the versatility to be able to hit more than one back row, more than you want the versatility to be able to set more than one monster.
But it's just crazy in a world of destroy all spell and trap cards on the field, revive any monster from either graveyard, like all this crazy stuff, and then just like set a monster face down. Like that's also limited in some formats.
Ooh, now Aratos has the Harpies. Okay, and getting rid of a ring is pretty nice. Also, Tribe very good card here, but DK can search out a monster from deck, so yeah, there are ways
Now,
to deal with Tribe.
do you find Tribe to be how do you weigh Tribe versus Exiled Force? I mean, is Tribe head and shoulders above it?
So it's interesting because like Tribe can't pop sets, which is very important because there's so many powerful sets in this format. But I don't know, the fact that you can keep using Tribe and also it's a bit of a beat stick at 1600 doesn't really compare to things like Gemini Elf or any of the other like super high attack point beat sticks, but 1600 is pretty respectable. I think that it can be a very, very good card. And I mean,
I
I
think in this
personally like it better than Exiled, but I'm not saying that because I think it's more strong than Exiled. I'm just saying it because I like it better personally.
I do think I think this whole locals we've seen one monster with 1900 attack be summoned. I think we saw a Gemini Elf in one game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we did. And Gemini Elf is kind of in a weird spot because I feel like a lot of people aren't playing it. I don't necessarily blame them.
Now why? Because I remember this for Gemini Elf was in at 3 in every deck for as long as I've been watching your channel. Basically, so what's going on? I get Magical Scientist is strong, but why are people afraid of the Gemini Elf? I mean, they can run over Breaker after losing a spell counter, run over Tribe Infecting Virus. What's going on with that card?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think it's also something that, maybe we'll see a shift as the meta develops further. Maybe people will get more aggressive cards like Gemini Elf in their deck. But really, like the threat in this format, if you're playing a good stuff deck, the threat is Scientist, right?
So
Like
people are scared of it getting run over by Dark Bolter. I mean, is that one of the things that's
potentially,
weakened?
but I mean, I don't know. Like if you think of the new monster staples that get added to this format, right? You've got Breaker, which can serve as a 1900 monster on its own, but also has an additional benefit of being able to pop a back row. So if you're picking a 1900 monster to go with, Breaker might be the way to go there. You've also got Tribe, which can clear a Gemini Elf on its own, or also clear just anything else you might want to clear that's face up. So I think if you like look at the other staples that have been introduced, and then also keep in mind that like people aren't going to be running like a super high number of beat sticks because they do want to just deal with Scientist. I feel like it makes sense that Gemini Alpha's sort of fallen out of favor in the
And
metagame.
would you say it seems like it was replaced by Wanku? Would you say that sort of?
I
Obviously,
think it.
Breaker.
I think it could
Personally.
be. I also think Red Eyes Solaris says in the YouTube chat, Skilled Dark is the way because there is Skilled Dark Magician, which is a 1900 beater as well
But
that actually has an
we didn't
effect.
see him either. Yeah.
And it does have more defense than Gemini Elf at 1700, which can come up. I personally, if you're going for a monster just to serve as a 1900 beater, I actually like Gemini Elf better. Because there are actually some very niche ways to remove Skill Dark. Second Fiber Jar this game.
We've seen a draw and 2 Fiber Jars.
I mean, that can happen. And if you're DK, like you're happy about this, right? You basically have yet another chance at pulling off the Scientist FTK. Because you only have 5 activations of Scientists, but your opponent's only has 6,000. So you do actually have the chance to kill them here. You also will get a battle phase as well, which can come up. The Comfy will be very helpful at dismantling the potential FTK here.
And he could have had the FTK in hand, and this ruined it.
That's true. And this will disrupt that. And this is potentially a reason for decks to keep in the hand rips. Even if they know they're going like
if this is
second.
Fiber Jar. No, it's not forceful. It's not forceful.
Yeah, send that card to grave. Luckily, Ratos.
I wonder if he lagged. I wonder if he lagged.
Why? Did he put it on bottom of the deck?
It doesn't matter here really either way because like, oh wait,
I knew he was gonna come to Wanku. I knew it.
Yeah, that's really good.
And I get the fact that he hit Witch must mean that there's no Raigeki or Dark Hole in hand, I would guess.
Yeah. Welcome, Synchrook. Yeah, Locals Night in Breaker format, which is very, very cool to see. This is just such a neat format to sort of explore.
Dark Hole he top decked Dark Hole.
But yeah, I mean, this is kind of interesting. It's very unlikely that the last 3 cards in hand enable the Science FTK, but I mean, maybe they do.
He summoned it for a reason.
Paying 1,000, so maybe a meta in hand, and you just bring out Balter, right?
Now, why do you think now with the knowledge we have, why did he confiscate the Witch?
That's an interesting question. Bring out oh yeah, because then you just meta into Balter. It's kind of interesting. I mean, maybe they figured the. Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking about why.
Because
Because like,
he passed up either he top decked something, but he passed up either Heavy Storm, Dark Hole, Meta, or Scientist.
so it had to be the Dark Hole top deck, right? Because you
I
don't
think
care
so.
about Scientist plus Meta if Wang Yu's on field.
Yeah.
So yeah, he must have top deck Dark Hole, and in that case, the Witch does make sense. Witch can search you out a monster that can actually beat over Wang Hu, right?
But he's got the Mirror Force.
Yeah, but he knew about the heavy.
He's chosen to clear the Scientist.
Yeah, I think that is the smart thing to do, honestly, because if you just set a card.
Let's ask him that though. Let's remember when if he comes on for an interview, let's ask him the decision to
Yeah,
confiscate
I mean,
the Witch.
I do think that like it is very likely Dark Hole wasn't in hand.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that makes the most sense to me. And then you just really have to top deck like a Dark Hole or a Raigeki, and
yeah. Well, I'll be shocked if he says like, yeah, Dark Hole was in hand. I'll be like, okay, now I'm confused.
Yeah, well, that would be really unfortunate. A really unfortunate pick there if that was the case. But looking really bad for Ratos here. You don't necessarily want to be setting against a Dark Bolter, but yeah, it's another tomato. You can't really do anything with that. But I mean, this is kind of just top deck mode for Ratos here.
We're getting and fiber jar isn't going to happen this time,
unless that sets a fiber jar. You don't know. It could be.
DK currently has control of the game through Bolter.
Yeah,
the power spells are dead.
Bolter is so powerful.
I think that. Wow, did he top deck 3 tomatoes in the Bolter?
Okay, that was the right choice.
Oh, Cannon Soldier
set, and that's the third tomato. So that's very unfortunate for Ratos here facing down a Bolter.
I mean, there's no card you can draw. Forces and graveyard. The game's over. I think.
Yeah. Nope. There was charity, but he's going to pay the 1,000.
Bolter has to negate that, but you're dead here either way, right? So you just go for it.
Oh man.
There is the potential to get a draw here if Ratos has another normal spell and a ring set.
I think that streak of top decks of tomatoes.
Yeah,
that was karma.
Oh.
That was karma for him letting him take the premature back.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, the pass here means the game is very likely over. All DK has to do is go into battle.
Oh.
I mean, call will help a little bit here. Bring back
buy one more turn.
And he has a set rush recklessly.
Yeah, that would be very funny. I think it might honestly be if we're talking about why Ratos went for the graceful, the set might be a normal spell, or no, the set might be a ring, and they're okay. Yeah, normal. Yeah,
it was Raigeki.
Oh,
the top deck.
Snatch Steal would have actually done it there. Wow.
It would have helped, but it wouldn't have done it.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't have done it, but like it would have been a very commanding position.
Yes.
Very good games here.
Oh my
awesome
god, wait.
To see. Wow.
B-Sox, real quick though. What if he top decked the Snatch Steal, took Bolt? Oh wait, I was gonna say, what if he attacked into Fiber Jar, but Bolter would have negated? But what if we saw another Fiber Jar?
That would have been great. I mean, I was rooting for another Fiber Jar activation because Fiber Jar is wild. But yeah, I mean, we got to see like 2 in that one game of the match alone. I think we also got to see more.
A draw.
Yeah, we got to see a draw. I mean, this has been a very, very exciting locals night. And it looks like DK0 will take this one. But I mean, who knows what's going to take the big tournament starting tomorrow. So if you're watching this stream and are interested in this format, are a bit intrigued by the gameplay, I mean, as we saw there, I mean, you can have some very cool gameplay in this.
DK.
Our champion.
Definitely sign up for the tournament tomorrow. It's starting at 12 EST. There's still time to sign up. But DK, welcome to the stream. And also congratulations on your victory. I mean, those were some pretty intense ones.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
DK,
so,
inquiring minds want to know, did you top deck the Dark Hole after the confiscation?
Honestly, I don't remember. Like, I'm tired. It's 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, no, we won't keep you here for too
check.
long. But yeah,
game
like,
3.
I mean, yeah. Otherwise, I would have 2-0'd Eratos because, like, I meant to summon the Robo Yaro monster that gets stronger when it attacks directly.
Yeah, the
Robo
I summoned the wrong.
Yeah.
Senshi would have done it too from that position.
Yeah, but it's so much less cool. You got to go for the
I know.
robos, you know? But
Actually, yeah, actually, I was thinking if there's like a situation where I can summon like Reaper on the Nightmare
Great
and
card.
get away with it,
I
but
was thinking about that.
unfortunately I couldn't.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
hoping that someone would go for Reaper on the Nightmare because it's just a very funny card that can come up if decks are playing Metamorphosis.
And remind
But
me, after Metamorphosis, can you Book of Life it?
uh, no, it's not properly
no,
summoned, so you cannot unfortunately do
right.
that. Um, but yeah,
And like there was another there was another situation where he had Tribe in attack mode, and I was thinking like, is there any fusion monster with 1600 attack so that I can crash and then last will
oh, that'd be
into
funny.
Turtle, and I have Science OTK that way.
Could you have done it with there's
Yes.
Darkfire Dragon, which is level 4.
No,
Um,
that's 15.
yeah, 15,
That's
but so
15.
you wouldn't be able to like crash,
Yeah.
but if you still be able to trigger last will, and only losing
Oh
100.
no, you're
So
right, but like I had to attack directly with Scientists, I believe, because
oh
his life points were too high.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think you're right, yeah. Um but still very very good games there. And yeah,
Uh,
so what are your thoughts
about to
on this
see.
format as a whole? Because like it's a very divisive format, like just FTKs
Right.
everywhere. But I think like I mean that last
Right.
match
He
was really really
didn't.
intense. And
He didn't. He drew the dark hole off of the fiber jar. Sorry for interrupting, but
okay, interesting. But
oh,
Well,
he
my
top deck
thoughts.
scientist. I
okay.
see.
Yeah, that makes sense. But
Yes.
but
Well,
uh yeah, your
my
thoughts.
thoughts are I don't really have an educated opinion because I didn't really play any games before this. Like I played 2 games with Burn, I believe, and this was the first time I believe I played Scientist FTK. I just assembled the list last minute. Really, I just opened your recent Science FTK video, and then I copied the main deck and I copied the side deck, but I also put like Fiber Jar, Cyber Jar, Morphing Jar into the side deck because those are like swinging cards that can just win out of nowhere.
I just
And
saw that with fiber.
at least it made for a fun stream because we had a lot of fiber resolutions. Yeah, I was quite surprised that I could get away with this.
Yeah, I mean that's something to
Yeah.
think about for I mean a lot of scientist decks I think what they need to worry about in their side deck are ways to deal with like things like Wanghu. And Fiberjar is a way to do
Yes.
that. Cyberjar is also a way to do that, but Cyberjar can replace the Wanghus and Fiberjar it's a bit iffier. So I like the Fiberjar deck. I think that worked out really well for you and I hope
Now,
that people adopt that into their deck if they're playing Scientist, FTK, or OTK in the tournament starting tomorrow. Because I think we will see a lot of people on that deck.
yeah,
The
DK
three
question for you.
jars. The 3 jars are still very strong, even with scientist FTK kind of warping the meta.
Quick question,
Shell
DK.
Creek? I don't know. I didn't play it. Yes.
After your last match in the finals, would you,
Uh,
if you were to redo this locals, like this locals is, let's say this locals is tomorrow, we redo it. Would you consider at all main decking any copies of Tiger King Guanku after seeing how strong it was against you?
I wouldn't main deck King Tiger in Scientist FTK. I don't think so. I mean, that would be an interesting idea, but when I played my testing game with Burn, I actually got paired with an opponent who was playing full blown anti science with triple Wang Hu main and like triple just many beaters.
That's my kind of style.
Just a
Make a
lot.
whole
Right,
make
right,
a whole
right.
main
A
deck out of a
Wanghu
side
deck. A Wanghu deck.
If you really lean into like anti-meta, anti-science, then yeah, I think that's a good deck. It's even good versus good stuff because you just have a lot of big beaters. Like Wang Hu is a bit iffy versus good stuff, but it's not bad because good stuff also has tomato, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting. I'm very curious to see how the meta sort of evolves around good stuff because I think that's a deck where depending on how dominant Scientist is, and it's seeming like it's going to be pretty dominant based on this locals and what I've seen from rated play in a format library and things like that. It'll be curious to see
Yeah.
how good stuff sort of evolves to deal with that threat, and then how good stuff evolves to deal with other good stuff decks as well. And I think there's a lot of potential for evolution in this format, so I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah,
Yes.
probably for sure. But like, unfortunately, we don't have too much time to experiment before we have, before we have to commit to a list tomorrow. Like, we have 16 hours left. That's
Yeah.
always a
And
bit the problem because like the local is right the day before the tournament, and like last minute changes are a bit iffy. I mean, it worked out for me. I played a list I've never played before, but like Science FTK, it kind of plays itself, especially if you have the draws that I had. I mean, 50% of my wins were, I believe, FTKs, and yeah. So there's not too much to say about that. But as you said, like some games drag out and they get interesting because you have to go into Bolter or make some calculated risks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
Really,
where
really, I haven't played. Yeah, I haven't played enough to say whether it's a good format or not. But like, at least you can say if the opponent has the FTK, they just show you the hand and you go to siding. At least you didn't really waste all that much time.
yeah.
But I can see how this is going to be frustrating. Not just this format, but quite many of them
Oh yeah.
until scientists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Vampire won't be so bad.
Well,
Its Scientist is at 1, but once we get into Chaos after that, until it's banned, 2004 is going to be very bad when it
so
comes to
the thing that I
Scientist.
always say about these formats is that like there's a format out there for everyone, and there will definitely be people
Right.
where like Scientist FTK existing in this format, that's just a deal breaker for them. They can't play this format because it's just like they just don't want to deal with that at all. But there are also going to be people who actually enjoy that sort of thing. Like I am a degenerate. Like I will play formats with FTKs because I think it's kind of neat. And also because I know that there are other formats out there to play that don't have those FTKs. So if I'm in the mood to play a sort of FTK format, I'm going to play that format. And there are also people who like these sorts of formats to try and take down the FTK. And that can be really satisfying for them to do. So I think that there will be, or at least I'm hoping that there will be a fair amount of people playing this format, even after we're done with it, because I've had fun with it. I'm looking forward to the tournament starting tomorrow. I'm hoping that we're going to get a fair amount of people. We've already got a decent amount that seem like they're going to be playing in it. And so fingers crossed that will go pretty well. But I'm going to be exploring this format for probably the rest of next week. And then that might actually take me to the end of my sort of main exploration on it before we dive into the next one.
He sucks. I
It's
will
so
leave
short.
on this. I will leave on this real quick.
Yeah.
I still have not done any deck building and it's due tomorrow. It's due tomorrow morning. Not done any deck building, but I'm gonna set my alarm for 5 a.m. I'm gonna brew a giant pot of coffee, and I'm gonna build the hell out of a deck.
Oh yeah. Well,
Also,
right
yeah,
after this stream, I'm going to be releasing a video that features a pretty spicy deck list if people want to look at that and take some inspiration from that as well.
Oh yeah, brother. Great locals. You have a good night.
Yeah. And I'm probably going to call it here. It looks like Ratos is not going to be joining us for commentary. But we'll get them around some other time. And yeah, this was a very fun event. It made me really excited for the tournament tomorrow. And if anyone out there is watching and there's still time to sign up, then definitely, hop on the YGO from Zero Discord, sign up. And also, if you want to participate in future locals or participate in future monthly tournaments, then that is the place to find those events. So, yeah, I hope that everyone enjoyed this. Definitely like the stream and also subscribe if you're not already. And until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off. See y'all in the next one.
I